You're good.
Ladies and gentlemen, been far too long, but we back. Episode 18 of Unmatched. Myself, Lucas Scott, Massimo Barufa on my left. I don't know what he's gonna appear on who's left on when the actual episode goes out. We're in the AS Roma hat, and then we got Paul on the right side. It looks like what's your shirt say? Sangria? I can't see.
Dude, I don't even know. I picked it up at Old Navy for like $10.
Nice. Hey, you can't go wrong with Old Navy. You cannot go wrong with Old Navy. Um, wow, so much to talk about.
Yeah.
I guess the first thing, NFL. So the Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants last night. Uh, DeMarcus Lawrence, their star defensive end, gonna be out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons has an ankle sprain. He's gonna be out, but luckily they do have a bye coming up soon. Listen, even with those guys, their defense has not been impressive by any
They
stretch
don't look good at all.
at all. You lose Dan Quinn in the offseason, who was their defensive coordinator for a few years when the defense was actually looking good. Pick sixes, forced fumbles, sacks, like they were just doing everything except consistently stopping the run game against good teams. And then Dan Quinn becomes the head coach of the Washington Commanders. They look good. And Mike Zimmer comes in, and Mike Zimmer is a defensive guy. You come in, former coach of the Minnesota Vikings. They had some good defenses with Harrison Smith and Daniil Hunter and all those guys and Kendricks. And the defenses don't look good.
No.
Now, they looked good in week 1 against the Browns, but I mean, we see the Browns are a little bit dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson looks like he can no longer throw a football.
They're very wild card-esque right now. Each week is like a different version of them.
Yeah. And you look at, listen, I actually like the Giants offensively, not because of Daniel Jones, because if that's a good quarterback, I think Daniel Jones is like average, like maybe.
Yeah.
But if that was a good quarterback, they beat the Cowboys because they were in the red zone so many times and just had to settle for field goals. It's pretty crazy.
They should have won that game. The time of possession was double for the Giants the entire game. Like they were put in situations to win the game. They just couldn't finish it once they got into the red zone.
Yeah,
a lot of that's gonna go to the quarterback since that's his job at that point. Like you gotta get touchdowns. You can't just settle for field goals.
Yeah,
and especially when, at least for a majority of the game, Neighbors was cooking the Cowboys up until he got hurt at the end, but he was cooking them. So it's like really no excuse. And was it Wan'Dale Robinson was playing really well too yesterday. So it's like it's not like these guys weren't getting open. They just couldn't seem to figure anything out once they got into the red zone. And then running the ball, like the running game for both teams isn't great. Especially yesterday, they both couldn't run the ball.
But Singletary's looked good on the Giants. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, where was this Singletary in Buffalo? Maybe Buffalo just wasn't giving him the appropriate looks, but he's looked pretty good with the Giants so far.
Buffalo's been able to run the ball more since they switched OCs. Like it's been a lot better, and James Cook has killed it since they changed OCs. So it's like I guess that new system has really helped with their running game. But he couldn't really do much. Besides, was it his rookie year in Buffalo? He had like a nice little burst, and then it kind of just went away for him there.
Yeah. I believe Singletary is a former rugby player, if I recall correctly. Okay. But don't quote me on that. I may be confusing him with someone else. Malik Neighbors, man. 12 receptions for 115 yards. He has a concussion, so hopefully that's not going to keep him out too long.
Weird concussion, too, because it didn't look like he hit his head.
Yeah, I know. It was a weird one, I thought. And listen, like I thought he caught the ball at first. I didn't see because we were, the Habs game was going on, so I was locked into the Habs game, which is, anyways,
preseason.
Yeah, preseason. But Jakob Dobesh looks sick. Jakob Dobesh looks flipping sick. And you know what? let me just say this, is that when Caden Primo and Sam Montembeau, had their like starts with the Habs early on in their careers, they didn't look good, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's important that
Montembeau waived by Florida, right?
yeah,
So,
right. These guys developed into quality goaltenders now. But Jakub Dobeš, and I know it's preseason, but let's not act like the Maple Leafs didn't put up a pretty good lineup.
well, he dominated yesterday.
Right? So I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, he played extremely well with a team in front of him that was not good on paper.
Toronto played all their starters, and
except for Matthews and Joseph Wall.
Yeah, because Matthews is injured, so that they took him out. But like besides, the Habs had 3 everyday starters. They had
Dvorak,
yeah, and Armia. Like
Newhook Armia.
Really, that's pretty much like all the young defensemen. Some of them played last year, like whatever. But I'm saying like full NHL, like year in year out NHL players. There was 3 of them yesterday, and he played fantastic.
So all I'm saying is, I'm not trying to start no goaltender controversy. I just think it's interesting that he played that well with a team that wasn't good. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see now, what is Jakub Dobeš going to look like if he has the starters in front of him? You know what I'm saying? And then they have Jacob Fowler also. Like they have a pretty good and that's a guy that's touted as being like a phenomenal goaltender. Coming into college. Yeah, exactly. So they have an interesting goaltending situation, but the team's interesting overall. Anyways, back to the NFL. Yeah. Sorry for that tangent. The Malik Neighbors is nice.
Yes. Yeah.
And the reason why I like the Giants offense is just because of Brian Daboll. Like I think he's a very, very good offensive mind. And also like, you drafted a guy in Jalen Hyatt out of the University of Tennessee 2 seasons ago, and he's not getting no love. And I don't get it because I think he can be a very good receiver. I don't know why he's not getting looks. I'm looking at the receiving core, Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton. He had a ball that I understand Daniel Jones should have thrown the ball better.
He had 2 hard catches that he could have done better on.
Could have changed the tide of the game. And listen, the Giants, like outside of their first game, because they were abysmal against Minnesota, they should be they should be 2-1 or 3-1. How many games?
They're 1-3 right now.
1-3.
They should either be 2-2 or 3-1 because they should have beaten Washington. Yeah. Malik Neighbors drops out. First of all, they lose their kicker. Yeah. Malik Neighbors drops the ball on 4th down, and then last night, like you're in the red zone, how many times you got to convert?
No, but like Brian Daboll is a good coach. You saw what he did in Buffalo as an OC, and at that point, it was Josh Allen's best year of his career when he was under Brian Daboll.
Yeah,
you saw the regression he had the last 2 regression, the higher turnover ratio he had the last 2 years without him.
Yeah,
so you can see he's a very good offensive mind. Now, is it time maybe for them to get a different quarterback to see if he can fit that system better? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of it. Like, he played well. Daniel Jones played well early on in the game, and then when it got into the crucial situations, he just couldn't make that timely pass to get them in the lead. Yeah. That's pretty much all it was. Like, all the going up, building it up the play, he played well. But then when he got into the red zone, didn't seem to come to fruition for him.
Yeah. If I'm the Giants, like I'm looking in the draft for a quarterback this year. Shador, whether it's Shador, Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward is a guy that can be an option this year as well. Like those 3 guys, I would probably lean towards Shador or Cam over like a Quinn Ewers, for example. I think Carson Beck might also be available, quarterback out of Georgia, maybe Jalen Milroe. So we'll see how those things play out. But if I'm them, I'm looking for a quarterback, absolutely.
For sure. But also, they could maybe wait another year and try to go for Manning, right?
Yeah,
just fits right in. It's kind of just blend in seamlessly with that.
Yes, they could do that. But
you would have to tank next year. Like that. You would have to cut Daniel Jones and be like, we're tanking this year.
But also, it's like how much you have a good coach in Brian Daboll. Mm-hmm. That's not a coach that plans to lose, right? Like that's a coach that wants to win. If you had a bum ass coach,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and bum out of respect, obviously they could do
Yeah,
better than
but it's like you
you
go
or
up to
me
them and you
can.
say
But
like you go up to them and say maybe we're bad next year, but then you're good for 15 straight years, right? You have
yeah,
the QB in place that looks like he has everything, right? Like obviously college ball is a different thing, but watching him play a half in
Yeah.
yeah,
college when he threw a bomb TD and then he ran for 67 yards. Like you can see he
yeah,
has a bunch of different things in his game that could
yeah.
translate. So it's like,
And also, you're talking about like they're not going to come out the same year as Arch, but
mm-hmm.
um, the quarterback out of Nebraska, Dylan Raiola,
Hmm.
is a guy that has potential to look extremely good, and also
Looks like Patty
my
Mahomes.
guy. No, forget about that. He does, but my guy and I'm sorry we're all over the place, but this
Yeah,
is
man.
just what it is. This is what we do. University of Tennessee. Why did I know I'm going into the season? Because of NCAA 25. I used Tennessee in my dynasty mode. And Nico Iamaleava. Let me tell you something. This brother's the truth. He's the truth. They're winning the national championship. That's my team. That's my pick. The defense looks good. You got James Pierce Jr., a guy that's going to go in the top 10 of the draft as a pass rusher. He's a monster. You have Dylan Sampson, great running back. You have Squirrel White, very good receiver. And this guy, Iamaleava, is a freshman quarterback, right? Pure freshman. Like, this guy is the truth. So keep an eye out for Tennessee. Any other teams around the league that you guys are surprised by? So the 4 weeks into the season now, disappointed in, well, surprised either for a good or a bad reason, I
I
should
think
say.
Probably the biggest surprise is Cincinnati
yeah,
being 0-3,
that
right?
Is
Like
it though?
it's a tough. They've had a tough start schedule, but like they should have won week one.
But
But like they've been
they have
trash.
bad
Yeah,
Septembers
yeah.
every year.
not
That's the
this
thing.
bad. I don't think they've gone 0-3 before. They've gone 0-2
Yeah,
before. I don't know about 0-3, but like they they should have they shouldn't have lost to Washington. Their defense
No.
just couldn't. Like they scored on every drive. It just the defense couldn't stop anything. And that bomb Daniels had to McLaurin at
Terry
the end of the game
McLaurin.
to win the game was insane. Put it right in the breadbasket. Like McLaurin, that was probably the first time McLaurin got a ball in his hand, like
Yeah,
without having to move. The first ball he's ever got, where it's like, oh shit, it's here. Like he's
yeah.
never had that before, and like Cincinnati's defense kind of let them down throughout that game. The Chiefs game,
It's the
they
Chiefs.
kept it
Yeah.
close, but it's the Chiefs. They should have won week one, but Burrow's kind of played bad. Like the whole team kind of played bad week one. So it's
Right.
just a little surprising to see them 0-3, but that whole division is a little shocking to say the least. Because
I
even the
think
rate,
I think the Ravens will like they're gonna get it together.
for
I'm not
sure.
worried about the Ravens. They have a big game this week against the Bills. I think the Ravens are beating the Bills this week. Bills don't have you don't have your linebacker in Terrell Bernard, I believe his name is.
Bernard, yeah.
And then their cornerback, Teron Johnson, is out as well. And it's in Baltimore. Baltimore's 1-2. They're looking to get back to 500.
Yeah.
I just think Baltimore's just. And listen, I'm not a believer. I know the Bills are 3-0. You all know how I feel about Josh Allen and the Bills. Even if I said, listen, if they make the playoffs this year, I'm gonna shut up. But guess what? I'm not gonna shut up. You want to know why? Because Tua's injured, so I'm not gonna shut up. I
Yeah.
said no injuries. I clearly said no injuries.
Roll the
And
tape.
Tua's injured. Roll the tape. Tua's injured. The Jets, I still think are going to beat
Do we
them.
have to talk about the injury? I don't want to
Whatever.
talk about the
We
injury.
don't have to.
Jets.
We don't want.
I
But
don't want to talk about that. That made me
who
sad.
have they played? Who have they played? They
The
beat
Bills,
the Cardinals, they beat the Cardinals. Okay, Cardinals are probably the best team they beat.
which
They're
is
a
still
sneaky good
also a
team, but they're
close
not.
game. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're an exciting team. They're just missing a couple pieces.
Yeah,
Getting
they
done by
beat
yeah.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Doesn't
Next,
win.
And
And then
then
they
you
beat
beat
Miami.
Miami.
Like
Come on.
Tua,
And
and he
Tua
got
was
hurt. Like
horrible.
it's bad.
yeah,
Tua
he
was
started off.
horrible.
I mean,
He was
to be
trash.
fair,
No, nothing. There's
the
nothing to be
first
fair
no,
about. He was trash.
the first pick hit the wide receiver in the shoulder.
Sure, but also like there was other drives and you didn't put no points against.
No,
He was
absolutely. I'm not
awful.
gonna. He was not good. But
And that injury, like, listen, you hope he's okay, but that
yeah,
injury saved him from getting cooked.
Yeah.
Because he should have got cooked, and then the whole focus on the injury because he was atrocious.
But also, I feel like he's not the quarterback that should be getting cooked right now. I feel like the guy who makes $55 million a year and is 0-3, and was the first overall pick, should be getting a lot more.
You're talking about Joe Burrow?
No, I'm talking about Trevor Lawrence.
That's a whole other issue.
He does not get enough hate for being he's 0-9 in his last 9 starts or 0-8 in his last 8 starts.
I'm not gonna lie though, if Trevor Lawrence was on Miami, I think he'd be better than Tua. If you switch the roles,
but watching him play right now, did you not see the clip of him doing a rule, like just turning around in his backfield when no one was pressuring him?
He was awful. Yeah, he was awful.
I think he's broken right now. Like I think there's just everything going on. Like I don't.
He needs to change the scenery. No, he needs to change the scenery.
Sure. And Oregon to coach again because Doug Peterson is.
Listen, Doug Peterson, I don't know, but Doug, like their first year, they made it to the playoffs. They go to the AC divisional, right? Like last year,
the biggest comeback in playoff. Well, one of the biggest comebacks in playoff history that year.
They come back against they come back the next season. They're 7-4, 8-4, and they just missed the playoffs. And then this season they're trash. I think Trevor Lawrence might need a change of pace, change of scenery. If I'm the Dolphins, honestly, I'm looking for my next quarterback, even if Tua comes back.
Yeah.
Like Russell, I'm gonna go out and try to get a Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson's not better than Tua right now.
Yeah, but you don't even know when or if Tua's coming back.
Yeah. They said he's fine. He's been traveling with the team. Him being on our IR was more of like a PR
cautionary.
Yeah, like more like that because I don't think his concussion was as bad as people thought it was because he would what Raheem Mostert Raheem Mostert said
they
went to Disneyland the day after.
Yeah, but the problem is you need to win games now. That's the problem. Yeah, and you can't wait for Tua.
It's a kind of lucky in a sense that our schedule is weak right now. Like we're playing the Titans this week, and then we play.
You might lose that.
I know that, but it's one of the weaker teams in the league. Like it's not like we're playing a Cincinnati of like a Baltimore. We're not playing one of like a hard hitting team where it's like you really need to anyone with Skylar Thompson, we're probably the worst team in the league because that guy stinks. But if the report is right now that it's going to be Tyler Snoop Huntley, that's better. We could win with him against the Titans. I've watched Will Levis the last 3 weeks of the year. He's been giving the other team better possessions to win the game, right? Like he's turned over the ball in crucial situations that's caused losses. So, and then we play the Broncos, I think, the week after or whatever, and they're not looking good either. Pats again,
but you have to win those games. So that's the problem.
We have to. But it's
I don't know. Like, maybe Tyrone Huntley can win you those games, or no, Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, it's Snoop now. He changed his name to Snoop.
Sorry, Snoop Huntley. All right, Snoop Huntley. Those you have to win those, and I don't know if he can. You know what I mean? Like Tennessee's lost because of Levis's turnovers. It's not because they're a bad team. Like they could easily be 3-0. You know what I mean? It's just Will Levis has had some dumbass mistakes, and he needs to chop those down because the offense is honestly. I thought the offense looked good, and they looked good against the Jets. They didn't look as great against the Packers, and I'm forgetting the other team that they lost to.
The Bears, but
they had that game in the bag.
Yeah,
they had that game in the bag, right? So their record could be a lot different. So it's not like you're facing the Titans who are 0-3, but they're not like it's not like you're facing the Panthers. Like I would have more faith in you beating the Panthers than I would in the Titans. And the Titans defense is pretty good. Like they're a pretty good defense. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
If we split the games the next couple of weeks, and when Tua comes back, I'll be happy with it. Just we can't go over.
I still think you should go get another quarterback, just as a safety measure. You know,
we definitely need to invest in a better backup. That's definitely for sure. Because having Skylar Thompson play is very hurtful to the eyes.
Yeah.
Watch T.
This is why I thought you guys should have drafted Michael Penix. Because I thought that you put him with a Jalen Waddle and a Tyreek Hill.
And the offense
he's in
doesn't
heaven.
really have to switch because they're both lefties, right? So it's a very similar offense with both guys.
Kind of hope he
Exactly.
also has a good year, so you get cash in on it.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that.
I think the other surprising thing is the Vikings and Sam Darnold.
I'm not
Well,
surprised.
not
I told you.
surprised because
I knew Sam Darnold was gonna be nice.
But
I've always
look,
liked
every coach has said like they've loved Sam Darnold. It just hasn't replicated to the audience. So I think it's surprising for people who don't know the stories of Sam Darnold or didn't see the Vikings.
But it's just because like his other two go arounds of being a starter was with the Jets.
Yeah.
Who he never had a weapon.
No, nothing.
Like
Not
the
in his
biggest
time
weapon.
there, no.
No, like the biggest was it. The biggest
Robbie
weapon
Anderson.
he had. Yeah, and or Le'Veon Bell, who never showed up to be Le'Veon Bell of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
And then he got to Carolina. Him and Baker were flip-flopping the starting role. And again, was his best receiver Robbie Anderson again? Like,
yeah, probably. Or no, DJ Moore. I believe DJ Moore was there.
Yeah, okay. But DJ Moore cooked that year. I think he had 1,300 yards, even with a bad QB situation.
Yeah.
But that team stunk, and it showed. And
it did.
He got that 1 year under in the 49er system, which probably helped him a lot just to learn and probably just better for him. And then took this year and he just ran with it. He's always had a good arm. It's just like he was a little bit inconsistent, but now he has weapons where it's like I can just put the ball up there and they'll come down with it.
Yeah.
And like imagine when Hawkinson comes back, like
and Jordan Addison.
Yeah. So that offense is just gonna get better.
And the defense has been surprisingly really good as well.
They haven't let
my boy
more than
Brian Flores.
Oh, that too. But I'm saying Andrew Van Ginkel has been killing it there since he signed.
Yeah, and so they're. I knew Sam Darnold was going to be good. That's why I didn't understand when everyone was like, "Oh man, JJ McCarthy," and I love JJ McCarthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You former quarterback at Michigan, won the national championship last season. I love him, but everyone's like, "Oh man, the Vikings are going to be trash." Like JJ McCarthy's injured. JJ wasn't even going to start. What are we talking about? JJ was not starting. Like they brought in Sam Darnold for a reason. And JJ McCarthy is a project, right? Like he is good. And I think he didn't get to show because he's a 5-star recruit, right? Yeah. He didn't get to showcase his full ability at Michigan because he wasn't asked to. They ran the ball so much.
He probably showed more in that one preseason game with the Vikings than he did Michigan because he was
Michigan, he was a guy that put them over the edge when they needed to win a close game. When he needed to make a throw, he could do it. But he wasn't going to start. Like unless Sam Darnold was atrocious, he wasn't going to start. So I'm impressed with the Vikings, and I honestly, in the past, I thought the Vikings have been fraudulent. I don't think they're fraudulent, but that's because I didn't believe in Kirk Cousins. Because I saw enough of Kirk Cousins to know that he's not that guy.
Especially in big games, he's not that guy.
No,
exactly.
He was fantastic in the season. That's it.
Yeah, the Vikings are.
And they have a big test this week against the Packers.
Yeah, Jordan Love's questionable.
If Love's back, that's a big game. Division rivalry and teams trying to fight for that division, like the top of it. So,
Pittsburgh Steelers 3-0.
Yeah.
Shocking in a different sense, because like
that's what we do. I'm not shocked. This is that's what we do.
Shocked of the Steelers. You're more shocked of the rest of the division being how they are.
Yeah, I knew the Browns were going to come in last.
Yeah.
And I still think they will. I know they have the better records than the Bengals, but I still think they'll be better than the Bengals, especially Myles Garrett's kind of banged up right now as well. And obviously Nick Chubb's not going to come back for a little bit. Like I said, Baltimore's going to get it together. I'm not worried about Baltimore, but I think it's very important that the Steelers got off to this hot start because their schedule at the end of the season is rough. You have to play Baltimore. You have to play Cincinnati. I believe they have to play the Kansas City Chiefs. If I'm not mistaken, they have the Bills.
So last 3 weeks is Ravens, Chiefs, and Bengals. Week prior is the Eagles.
There you go. Yeah, sorry, the Eagles.
Okay.
So like they have, and then there's a whole bunch of other division games that, listen, no matter how bad these teams are in the division,
It's
division
still
games are
divisional,
division games
yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's important that they got off to the start. But I told y'all we got the best defense in the league, and we're
Defense
giving up
best.
under 10 points a game, which is phenomenal. T.J. Watt 3 sacks. He should have 5. But the NFL frauded him in week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons when he single-handedly dominated the game. And now they came out with a new stat about chip block, how much times a guy gets chip blocked.
Okay.
And he gets chipped 44% of the time, which
Damn.
is double the amount of any of like the next pass rusher. And he's still a beast. Like TJ Watt is, I never understood, everyone's always talking about Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons. And to me, they were never better than TJ Watt. And TJ Watt did this on bad teams, offensively, bad offensive teams, which means, he'll play more because the offense is just not scoring. So the 3 and outs are more frequent. But the Steelers don't get out to big leads in the last couple of years. So it's not like the teams that they're playing are just going to sit back and pass the whole game where he has a million opportunities to go and sack the quarterback. A lot of the time the teams can still rely on the run game because they're not down by a lot. They're down by 3 or they're down by 7. They're within range. So a lot of that is mixed with the run as well. Whereas, the 49ers, they've been dominant. You know what I mean? The Dallas Cowboys, how many times have they been up big in the last couple of years? So I think all those are factors. But Steelers are 3-0. They play the Colts this week. I would not be surprised if they lose because the Steelers would do some shit like that. But Anthony Richardson has been a turnover machine. They got to capitalize.
Not look good at all. Besides that 170-yard TD, he's just been really inconsistent.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Like we saw flashes last year in his rookie year, but there was a lot of like running plays. Like he had a lot of good like in the red zone scrambles into the end zone, but that was also the reason why he got hurt because he kept putting his head down and trying to run through guys. But he's not like he has a similar style to like Cam Newton, but without all the extra weight. So it's like
and Cam Newton was just efficient though. Yeah. Cam was a beast. You know what I mean? Like came in throwing for 400 yards back-to-back games. You know what I'm saying?
So it's like, and like Cam also had like the accuracy issues at points in his career, but like it's getting rough for Richardson right now.
Yeah.
And like we'll see how it like again weapons are like it's not like he has the best weapons throwing, but like you still have Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
So it's like should be doing better. And like you have a guy you can rely on in Jonathan Taylor. It's just a little confusing, especially with all the hype he had coming into this year. Like everyone was hyping him up from the 4 or 5 games we saw him play last year.
So the San Francisco 49ers are 1-2.
Yeah.
And
injury bug has not been great to them.
But this is my issue. I'm not paying. This is why I don't know if I'll pay Brock Purdy. Because
he played well last week though. Like to give it like they lost.
But you also lost to the Rams, who don't have a receiver.
Yeah.
They don't have Puka. You don't have Cooper Kupp. It's Kyron Williams. It's Blake Corum. And honestly, and maybe this is my ignorance, and it is my ignorance. I don't know who the receivers were last week for the Rams. I don't know. I wasn't watching the game.
Robinson. The
okay,
other.
What are we talking
and Tutu Atwell was killing it last week.
Okay, Tutu Atwell, yes, I am familiar with that name. He has had some moments. But for me, it's like, what are we talking about? Like, you still have a Brandon Ayuk who has been awful. You still have
since he signed that contract.
Juwan Jennings was phenomenal last week.
Yep.
Mason's been a solid backup for Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey might not even play this season, honestly.
No, he's looking like he's out for a couple months now.
Yeah.
What the report was yesterday.
They kind of hoping for playoffs. Maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have George Kittle, but dude, the Steelers have had injuries, and they still find ways to win. The Steelers had Devlin Duck Hodges as quarterback and won games.
Yeah.
They had Mason Rudolph at quarterback and they won games. And you're losing to the Minnesota. Like I said, I think Minnesota's a good team, so I'm not going to hold that against them. No. But you lose to the Rams.
Yeah,
I feel like the Rams are a good team, just they have no weapons
I
right
don't.
now, which is
I
like
don't think they're
weapons, and I
on
mean,
paper they're not a good team.
yeah.
offensively, I
They,
find
And
they are.
defensively,
you
they're not
lose
good.
Donald,
They are not a good
No.
defensive
it's a
team.
completely different what's it
I
called? Personality on the
But the
defense.
thing with the Rams is that they've never been good on the back end.
Mm.
Like even when Jalen Ramsey was there, to me they were still susceptible to
yeah.
giving up big plays. The pass rush was good because Aaron Donald was there, and you
Yeah.
can literally slap
Yeah.
us three on the rest of the line, and we still may be respectable because he's a freaking animal. He's a freak of
Yeah.
nature. I don't know. I just don't think they've been all that great. And like Rams, like okay, yeah, you have a whole bunch of injuries. A lot of teams have that, and they find ways to win. So
Yeah. For sure.
World of Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot to catch up on there as well.
Dude,
I think we'll do
there's
Champions
so
League.
much.
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to narrow our focus. EPL, Serie A, Real Madrid, Barca,
Yeah.
Bayern's a monster, whatever. So let's start off with the Prem. Rodri's out for the season.
Which
Tough loss.
I do want to say something after.
You can say it now if you
Okay,
want.
I mean, am I a little bit salty that he got injured? Yes, which maybe, but skews kind of my opinion. But too much, like, people always say more games is better for the fan. It is not. Look, I'll give it the year for the Champions League, the whole new format, but I find more games has weakened the experience as a football fan, in the sense of I'm watching games where players are playing with half injuries. No one's playing the best. They're playing their best teams because they're playing so many games. They gotta rest, or they're injured because of so many games. And also, the games don't feel as important, right? Look, it's not. There's still a 38 game season. There's still old Champions League is what for? Let's say it's what 6. I don't know. Let's say 20 games, 15 games or whatever. Each game felt important. Now I'm watching. We're like, I just don't care. Especially the new format where it's like, okay, for example, City played Inter. Like, that's an important match. That's one of your top. But then the last 4 games where you're playing, respectfully, weak teams from, lesser European division, which they're still in the normal Champions League format, it's fine. But, dude, I'm watching 8 games. 3 games in, you might have already clinched it. It's like, why the hell do I care watching any more of these games now? Right? The value that each game brings, it has lessened with the amount of games. And this started years ago when they started bringing in Nations League, which they wanted to get rid of friendlies because people were not showing up to that in terms of players and fans, so they bring the Nations League. But you see that in the Spain final, people were getting off at halftime because they couldn't compete anymore, right? So this new format of adding hundreds of more games is, I find, detrimental not only to the players but to the people watching it.
Do we know how many more games this Champions League format adds for each team in comparison to the previous format? Because for me, Champions League takes top priority.
Yeah.
Outside of a Euro or a World Cup year.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is you don't need to play everyone for a Carabao. Honestly, make Carabao or these types of cups as like a youth almost like a youth cup.
Which is what I think this did good for it in terms of allowing youth players to have to play. But I think Carabao itself is part of the problem. We don't need that.
No, but Carabao should be optional for players.
But also, why do you have 2 domestic trophies?
Yeah,
like why do you have 2 domestic cups? Every other league has 1.
Exactly.
So why do you guys have 2?
Right now, you're going to the World Cup of 48 teams.
The Club World Cup. Okay, no one pays attention to that.
No one does.
Like, in theory, it's a good idea because it's like a Club World Cup. Yeah. It's like a club. Yeah. It's like a World Champions League, whatever. But no one cares. It's unfortunate, but no one cares. Just I'm looking at that, another youth event. Why not? Slap it up. Nations League, youth event.
Yeah.
Like, the stars should not be playing international competition unless it's like tune-ups for the Euros and the World Cup.
It's either qualifiers or the tournaments itself.
And there's like 6 qualifying games. Like, there's a fuck ton of qualifying games. Like, you can tune up in those games.
Yeah.
You can build chemistry and rapport with your team in those games. You don't need to play friendlies. You don't need to play Nations League. Portugal and Nations League, by the way. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to play like, I understand they're playing a lot of games, but like, bruh, like, to me the solution is simple. Don't play them.
Yeah.
Like, no one's telling you
Yeah.
guys that your coaches need to play you all these games. Like, obviously everyone's complaining but I get it. But just play most teams play their youth squad for Carabao anyway.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's, as a player, yes, you can make that decision, but also as a club or country, if they're asking you to come and you say no, right?
It looks bad.
Yeah, it looks bad, but also they could be like, yeah, all right, so then don't come. Now, if you're a
Yeah.
superstar, as an idiotic response from a club or country, but you see what I'm saying? Like, they have the power to say no, but there is consequences to that.
Yes, but that's when you need to
You're gonna be
come
asking
into.
those players.
But you need to be able. Clubs and country need to be able to communicate and be
Yeah.
like, dude, we're not doing it, right? Like, we're just not. Because do you want the guys healthy or not? Right?
Yeah.
England, do you want Harry Kane to be healthy? We saw he was banged up at the Euro. Do you want him to be healthy? Okay, fuck off. He's not playing qualifiers. Or I'm sorry, not qualifiers, but he's not playing friendlies.
Yeah.
He's not playing Nations League. Because if you want to win, you need these guys healthy. Do you not? Okay, then. So take the guys and fuck off. It's that simple.
It will cause it's just.
It's just
causes
money.
a lot. It's for sure. It's all money.
It's
gonna
not the problem.
It's going to cause a lot of strain between club and country to have these conversations.
But
Because,
it shouldn't, though. It really shouldn't, because it's simple. But they just want to make it more than it is. Why are you worried? First of all, why are you worried about bread, especially in Premier League?
Yeah.
Y'all should not be worried about no bread. Y'all got so much money. Your bottom teams make more than like 70% of soccer clubs in the world.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. Like, the TV deals that they have are bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
So if in terms of finances, they should not be complaining whatsoever. Other leagues, okay, I can understand a little bit more. But like, from the England perspective, y'all got nothing to complain about when it comes to finances.
But it's always been that. It's UEFA, it's FIFA. It's like, okay, we want to generate more money.
But that's also another problem. Like, if they were one body, it would make things so much easier.
A lot easier.
Right? If they were in unison, but because FIFA is like, oh well, UEFA's making all this bread because we can only make bread every 4 years. Let's, okay, bro.
It's a similar issue that the NBA had, in the sense of, like, you had fans. It's luckily that the competitions are in multiple cities. Versus like the NBA is only within America, or
talking about resting superstars.
Well, not resting superstars, but also the fact that there was being so many games in the NBA's train with a lot of back-to-back, like the schedule having a lot of back-to-back stuff like that. Players were getting injured, and you had. I'm against the resting of the NBA, but I'm saying in terms of they've had this issue where because there were so many back-to-backs.
No, I see. That's my problem with the NBA is like no one was complaining about this.
No,
until like 10 years ago.
No, I'm saying
that's the problem.
The fact that if people were getting injured because of these schedule issues, whether they were real or not for the NBA, whether they're real or not for any league, if there's schedule issues causing injuries, you have fans coming to watch these players, and then they realize your favorite players are not there, right? The fans are paying to come see these games, and then these players are forced to miss the games because they have half an injury or lingering injury that they, you know what I mean?
Sometimes it's not the players. So I'm sorry. Sometimes it's not the coaches; it's the players. I want to say.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying having an increased schedule causing these injuries.
Listen, in soccer, I agree. In basketball, it's been 82 games. They haven't added any more games.
No.
At all.
I don't think.
I'm not saying for you, just in general, because a lot of people do. NBA should reduce it to like 74.
I'm saying the conversation
Why?
the NBA created is the same.
Yeah,
way that
but also I don't know. Maybe take a look at your pace of play.
Yeah.
Maybe take a look at how the league is structured. You want to know why all these Michael Jordan and John Stockton and Cole missed games? That's because of legitimate injury, not because he needed to rest. He rested at the end of his career because he's old and they're not making playoffs.
Yeah,
dude, you guys are freaking running like maniacs up and down the court, jacking up threes. The pace of play and the style
Yes.
of the way the games are played has led to these injuries. And yes, the game is more athletic. We know that. But if you slowed the pace down, there would not be as many injuries. There wouldn't. Go look back at 10 years ago. How many guys were really getting injured like this?
Yeah.
Right? Look, like in the last couple of years, how many times in the last, let's say, 5 years, how many times have we been like, man, if this guy's healthy, it changes the complexion of the series?
That's always and it's sad because that changes the narrative for like pretty much like the past 5 finals we've had.
Exactly.
That's the problem for the 76ers for the last 5 years.
Yeah, but before that, that was never really an issue, right?
No.
Like,
I'm trying to
rare. Like the Golden State,
less.
Like the Golden State final, like when they first won their first title against Cleveland, Kevin Love and Kyrie, those were like they weren't like
there weren't question marks going into the series.
It wasn't like an injury accumulation, right? It was like shit actually happened. Like
Kyrie
Kevin
broke his
Love
kneecap on the first game of the series. Like
Kelly Olynyk shoulder. Kelly Olynyk fucks up Kevin Love's shoulder. Like it was actual like injuries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not like freaks.
It wasn't
like,
wear and tear.
Exactly. Thank you. It wasn't wear and tear. And that's not like nowadays. Like it's like. I really think it's because of the pace of play and the game is so much faster that I think that's hurting the players and why we see so many. Like, for example, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I love Kawhi Leonard. If Kawhi Leonard's prime was in the 2000s, he probably would have fared a little bit better because of that pace of play, right? He just when he gets the ball, he slows it down, right? He really slows it down. He takes his time. He looks for the mid range. Exactly. DeMar DeRozan's like that. Like he would have excelled in that time era because it's not running up and down the court and jacking up threes.
Every league has become, and every sport has become, we want more offense.
Yeah. And honestly, it's trash.
Yeah.
It's trash. It's super trash. And listen. I love defense. I know you guys love defense, right? We grew up. First of all, we all Italian. That's what in soccer. That's what we're about. Okay. But a lot of people love defense. Like I feel like they thought like, oh man, defense. Who the fuck likes that? Who does? Like I love defense. When I turn on the Pittsburgh, when I first started watching the Pittsburgh Steelers, I watched them because of their defense. Yeah. Because I would turn on the TV to see the defense. Obviously, Big Ben, Hines Ward, Willie Parker, Jerome Bettis, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon later on. Yes, we became an offensive team. But when I first started watching Steelers football, it's because of the defense. Bears fans watched because of the defense. Ravens fans watched because of the defense. There's people that love defense. You know what I mean? Like
regardless of loving the defense, offense, or whatever, like allow the sport to how it should be played. Right? If you're we'll get into the topic of like the Arsenal City game, which I do agree with a lot of what some people said, but like if your style or if your best pieces are defense, why should you be scrutinized because of that? Right? Mm-hmm. In terms of not in terms of how the game goes, but in terms of let's say TV deals or this, because you're not Showtime. Right? So but at the end of the day,
offense sells, right?
It's a business too, right? So people are also looking at the patterns and trends and numbers, right? It's just the more you get into a sport, for like someone trying to get into a sport, you're like, wow, this is amazing. The more you get into it, the more you're like taken away from it or drawn back from it, which kind of sucks. But I think that's also with everything you do. The more you get into something, you kind of see the shit side of it. But all that to like kind of recap, I'm not sold or 100% in with the increased game amount and increased fucking tournaments.
Yeah.
It was also a tough start to the year because it was a short summer for them because we did have the Euro that a lot of them didn't get rest. So that's just naturally going to happen where more injuries are going to start the season just because they're all still not fully fit from the season before. They had a long year and then they had that's what I'm saying. Like you had a long year because it was already a short year to start with last year again. And then you can't come into the season where we're just coming off the bat of the Euro. It's like, well, none of these guys are fully well rested.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all these muscle and little ligament injuries are the first things to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But you brought up that City Arsenal game. Shout out
Mhm.
to Aura man, Ricardo Calafiori.
Whoa.
Dude,
Every
I
time he
will
scores, it
stand
makes
by
me
it though.
sad.
I think he tried to
It looks
cross
like a
it.
cross.
I think he tried to cross it. I'll be honest.
It's the way the bend. It looked like he tried to bend that back post for
Yeah.
that attacker. You saw Havertz there.
It's because
Havertz
he
was there
didn't
ready.
fully follow through like it was a shot. So it was
Yeah.
like, okay, he's crossing. And next time I was in the back, I was like, what the fuck happened?
I didn't get a chance to watch the full game in its entirety.
Yeah.
We were supposed to go watch it. I ended up getting sick, so I couldn't be there at the Burgundy Lion. Shout out to the Burgundy Lion and Paul Delaye. But I didn't get a chance to watch it in its entirety.
It was
but
basically
seemed like a good game.
It was
a good game.
Yeah, I mean, look, the red card for what it was is a tragedy in terms
Red
of
card at
watching.
the end of the half. Yeah.
We'll speak on that. Hate rivalry is back in where, and it's hilarious because Arteta and Pep are on amazing terms. Like like Pep says, like we texted after the game, whatever. But the players hate each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mean, good in
Even
the sense of rivalry.
Bernardo Silva's quote at the end
Yeah.
of the game was fantastic.
Right?
Yeah.
It brings back that rivalry that you kind of saw like in the era of like the Roy Keane United, right? Stuff like that. So I'm all for it in terms of viewership and stuff. In terms of the game, there's always going to be controversy with the red card. My stance on it is you're already on a yellow and you're going in for, which was a foul, I think itself was a warning foul, and your next one is you're out kind of thing. But why are you going into that challenge in the first place? The questionable part is when he booed the ball, like, did he hear the whistle? Like, it was instinct. It happened right after. That is, it's
like,
I think it's a little unfair.
My thing is, I wouldn't have given him the second yellow.
Yeah.
But they've been consistent on it this year because Declan Rice got a red card 2 weeks ago for kicking the ball after play. Right
which, again,
right?
They've been consistent on it, but consistent on the wrong way, right?
Absolutely, but it's like at least they're being consistent.
Yeah, but
right? It's not like the calls are like again soft to give someone a second yellow and send them off for just tapping the ball away, especially Trossard, where it's like the ball didn't stop. It was in the middle of a play. He tackled someone and then went to the ball and kicked it. Like it's all in the motion.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of sucks.
That's the thing. They're consistent, but he's not actively trying. Look, I could be wrong in his head, but a lot of these plays I'm watching, they're not actively trying to fucking crank the ball out or waste time or this. They're going with the motion. In the sense of like, you went for a tackle, the ball is there. You're not thinking.
Yeah.
You boot it, the whistle goes 2 seconds out. You're thinking, I need to get the ball out of this situation or whatever, right? I'm not saying every situation was like that.
Yeah.
My problem with what Trossard did was like, why are you going in for that stupid foul in the first place when you know you're on a yellow? And it was in what, like the 35-yard. It was like the Man City's back line would have got it, right? It wasn't in a dead like scenario like, okay, I kind of need to take one, right? The issue was the booting of the ball that got on the red card, which was questionable and like what we just said. But my issue was just the initial going into that.
What do you guys make of this whole? Listen, because I think obviously Saliba deserves to start, Gabriel deserves to start, and Calafiori deserves to start. But how do you manage this, right? I'm going to be honest with you. I think all three of them should be on the field at the same time. Whether that's as a 3 center back or if you want to put Calafiori as the left back, I think you got to find a way to, because he has the experience playing as a fullback in comparison to Saliba and Gabriel. So I just think you have to find a way to keep those three guys on the field. I like Ben White. I think Ben White is solid, but I think Calafiori is better defensively than Ben White, and I think Calafiori has more off, and I think Calafiori has a little bit more offensive upside than Ben White.
Saw.
right? So like,
He also
I
got
think
cooked on the Savinho goal though.
there you go.
Yeah.
I think you got to find a way to be able to put these three guys in. And if it means that Calafiori has to be like an old school left back and chip in offensively here or there, then so be it, right?
Yeah.
But I think part of it is like he's, and I would prefer that not be the case because he's very good at. Like,
Yeah.
we saw with Italy, we saw it. Like, he has the offensive side to his game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't want to take that away. I just think you got to find a way to have these three guys on the field at the same time, on the pitch. Sorry,
I
on the
agree
pitch
with
at the same
you.
time.
I just don't think they need to be in any rush to. Look, we saw the Calafiori in the City game. Look, the Savinho goal, I put a little more blame on him. I think for some reason he was trying to cut the line off rather than the center of the field.
But was it also Gabriel got lost in that play too?
It was a mix of everyone. I found it weird that he set his body in terms of giving him the whole of the field rather than the line.
The middle,
But then he made up with the goal. I don't think they're in any rush to. I've always said very few players get into the Premier League right away. I think you have players who've been in the Premier League on Arsenal that know how to play it in your Saliba and Gabriel. I don't see an issue easing his way in. I understand his quality. But the rest, I say the recipe has worked with the team they have, and I think Timber has been playing great this year coming back from injury.
Yeah.
The recipe, I guess, hasn't worked since they didn't win a trophy last year, but you know what I mean? In terms of competing, in terms of that's their lineup they're going with. So I think they should look to get him into the lineup this year, but I don't think they're in a rush as of right now. We're 4 or 5 games into the season?
Do we know how long his contract is?
Probably a 4-year, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I am curious to know because I don't know. I personally think once his deal with Arsenal is up, I think he's leaving. Personally, I don't see him.
5-year contract.
5 years.
Yeah, so he'll probably be like 28 by the time it expires.
Yeah.
I don't see him staying in with Arsenal. Maybe he'll stay in England, but I definitely see him going back to Italy at some point. And I've seen a lot of people complain like, oh, someone from Juventus, I can't remember exactly who, but like, you know, it's a shame that, you know, a guy of Calafiori's caliber went to England.
Today. That was I read it today.
I somewhat agree. Like, yes, you want this quality, but at the same time, as a club, you want to win.
But also it's like, dude, like you're making it sound like Italian players are leaving Italy left and right. Yeah, like it don't happen. This is rare.
This is like the first conversation we've had. Since when?
What?
Of someone of this caliber.
Yeah, like.
And then again, he's been great on Bologna. And
but Jorginho, I guess so. But like
when he left Napoli to go to Chelsea, it was like kind of big, I guess, but like not really.
Yeah,
like
because Calafiori has, to me, more like superstar potential than Jorginho. Jorginho was excellent. We know that.
Third in Ballon d'Or, right? So it's like
but like it feels a little bit different if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is when's the last time Balotelli? Like maybe I don't know.
Balotelli the second time when he went to Liverpool.
To me it's just like, dude, it don't even happen often. First of all, A, and B, like if anything, I think this is a good thing. Like if players can show that they can do well in the Prem, in turn that can maybe
that one.
Yeah, Tonali as well.
We forgot, but because he was suspended for it.
It took a little bit of the hype away because when for his first game he scored, he looked good.
Yeah.
But I just think it's like I think that can be a good thing, really, right? Because maybe it brings more eyeballs to the Serie A because people are gonna be like, oh, like, damn, this is a good league. Maybe we got to keep an eye out for somebody.
Listen, I don't think like a Benfica where it's like you create all this talent and then leaves, right?
I don't listen. I don't think that'll ever happen because I think the standard is set that Italian players stay in Serie A. I don't think that'll happen, but to have a 1 or 2 guys go, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing by any stretch.
But that always happened. Like even earlier on, you had Zola.
Gianfranco Zola.
He left for. No, but Cannavaro was a different situation.
Later, but yeah.
That was because of all the shit that was happening
Yeah,
in
but
Italy.
With
But
you
Zola
there.
left it. Yeah, but Zola left, and he's a
yeah,
Chelsea legend. Like he was fantastic there. And
Yeah.
yeah.
like, there's some guys that move away, but like the majority of them usually stay.
Yeah.
There is the
Like Luca
each
Toni with Bayern Munich.
yeah, but
Like
there is the I
He's
guess
an
quota
outlier,
for
yeah, for
each
sure.
league, right?
Yeah.
Where each team needs a set of homegrown players, right? There is that,
Yeah.
of course, that plays a factor. But I do have one last thing to say for the Arsenal City game, and it's surprising that I'm like defending Arsenal in a lot of things. A lot of people are scrutinizing what they did after the red card, where it was basically park the bus 5-4 like on the 18-yard line.
That's what you gotta do.
So 10% of it I think they could have done in terms of more on try of the counter. I found taking Saka off was odd rather than Martinelli, because
That's all.
not because offensive, but Saka also played left back. So if you were playing defensive, like Saka fit that role better, right? I find they could have maybe have done some more in trying for a counter attack or something, but I understand their position, their stance, and also people are like, this is boring to watch, and it was the whole conversation we were just having about defense. Arsenal's best weapon is their defense and their goalkeeping. Why not play towards that? Which is what they did
last year with the
at the end of the day.
We tied.
At the end of the day, I think we made more questionable decisions. We ended up tying in the 90 plus 7th or plus 8th or whatever. But you would understand why Arsenal plays defensively, because that is their best attribute.
Mm-hmm.
They do not have a striker that even enhances their attribute for a defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I in terms of maybe could have done one or two more things differently, but in terms of that decision, I don't disagree with it entirely. I think it worked better just because for some reason, I don't know why we're not playing Foden, and also for some reason our back lines are the ones at the 18, like the fact that we're down one and we're forced to take long shots in the sense of they're congesting or they're playing a low block. Why is Diaz the one lining up for the shots? You bring on these midfielders, they should be playing within the defensive line so that they could maybe get the shot off.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
it was very odd to see Diaz just keep trying to rocket in shots.
I was waiting for a company moment, but you see what I'm saying? It was a good game in the end of it. I think it's red card. The red card sucks in terms of wanting to watch two of the best teams of Premier League play.
Because it just shuts down the entire half.
Yeah.
Because one team is just going to be playing defensive the whole time now.
Exactly. But I don't disagree with Arsenal's tactics. So.
No. When you're down a man, that's what you got to do. But you got to play everyone back, ingest the box so they can't have open shots into the back of the goal. But that also leads to what happened. Whereas you're going to get the little deflections, and that's what happened. You get a little deflection, and it bounced right to stones. Like, that's what's going to happen when you have so many people in the box. The ball's just going to bounce off people.
But excited for the rivalry.
Okay, let's talk about...
I just like that shithousery's back in the Premier League. Yeah. It's so funny.
It began because Vardy's back in.
Vardy's back in, and he just likes to yap his mouth. What he did to the Spurs fans was hilarious, and now Haaland is just running with it, and it's great.
Right, we should move to Champions League.
Hold on. Slow your roll now. Slow your roll now. We'll get to Champions League after this.
Oh, Milan derby.
I
was watching. I do have some things to say.
Come on, son. That's football. All right?
That's passion. Football. That is actually passion.
That is passion.
And
that is
really, really, really needed that.
The weight of the world on the shoulders of the club. I'm so dead ass. Because, first of all, I think that win is so massive, and especially in terms of pushing them into the right direction and making them. I think this is like a. I don't want to go far past season, but it's a season defining. It's huge because Fonseca's out if they lose that.
Yeah.
the team, Furlani, Moncada, Ibrahimovic, you're getting cooked.
Yeah.
Now there's questions of why the hell are you guys even in power? Bring Paolo Maldini back. I hope he
Which
still
they
does
still
come
should.
back with
That's the only I'll say
with
that's the only
PIF
bad thing that
investment.
came out of them winning is I still think that management is fraud, but they
Yeah.
live to see another day.
But PIF, please. Side with Maldini. Maldini's coming back. He's gonna come back.
think so.
I don't doubt
I
it.
can see it.
And when he comes back with that oil money, baby, yeah, boy.
But dude, now it's 100%. Like,
But see, this is the difference between us and a Man City or a PSG is we're gonna have oil money while still maintaining history. You know what I'm saying? And class. You know what I'm saying? Like a Newcastle. Newcastle got oil money, but they're doing it the right way. You know, they're not just bringing in.
We're not doing it the right way.
Newcastle?
I'm saying, how did we not do it the right way? We won
You
all
got
these
115
trophies.
breaches.
Alleged.
Thank you.
Alleged.
Yes. Alleged. Okay, whatever.
We're not acting. Okay, well,
Points may be deducted.
we're not acting like Milan did get banned for 2 years.
That was Juve's fault.
So if
That
we
was all
lose these
Juve.
alleged charges, I'm blaming United.
That was also 20 years ago, dude. That was 20 years ago.
That was 5 years ago when you got kicked out of the Europa League.
No, that was BS though. We all know that was BS.
Anyways, but no,
No.
back to the derby.
No, that was just because we just weren't selling enough. That's all.
You weren't balancing your books.
That's okay. That's fine. That happens.
Back to the derby though.
But
I need to shout out honestly Tabby Abraham. Dude, that man.
Yeah. His dribbling in tight corners.
I'm not even talking about his playing ability. I'm talking about just his pure passion and his captaincy to Milan, and he's a loanee. Like he is.
He did that with us. Like he's
that's
just
the thing.
passionate
But
for
that
fans.
is what Milan needed, and I say that they needed that because as skillful and as talented as Leao is, I feel like he just didn't care in a sense, and I don't want to say
sometimes he doesn't.
I'm not saying that he doesn't, but you see, you feel that mentality. You saw it also in the Milan derby when everyone was yelling him not to press, and then he ends up pressing, causing an opening, and Tammy fucking is charging, like basically covering for him, like he's putting in the extra effort, which goes to show how much respect Tammy Abraham has for the club and as for that, but when they also got taken off, you can see Leao kind of now getting into it because of these players.
I was saying, let's not hide the fact that Tammy's a Milan fan. He's never hated it over the years. Even when he played for us, like he's always had that little underlying of Milan, and like he's passionate.
How can you not?
But it's also like that's just the type of person he is. He's just very passionate, and he did it with us. Like when he was in the derbies or in any big games. Like even he came back by the time for the Europa quarters against you guys, and you could see he just has the energy to like pump up the fans and try to get the fans, and
that's what Milan needs.
That brings something to the like the team. Like stuff's not going. That brings the morale up a lot. When you have the fans just backing you and not booing you for shit that's happening.
Listen, how can he not be? Milan's the most iconic Italian franchise club.
It is.
Like they are, and when you look at it, we've had the most iconic players from the Netherlands, in Italy. I'm saying.
Oh, like for
out of
teams.
Exactly. Out of all the Italian teams, Ruud Gullit, Van Basten, Frank Rijkaard. France, we have an argument. No, sorry, I'm lying.
No, you don't. Juve has that with Platini and Zidane, just like that is.
Totally forgot about that. Italian players, I would argue us, Maldini, Baresi, Nesta. Yes, Juve, you got
Juve has Baggio, Del Piero, Cannavaro.
We have Baggio too, though. Not this like. Not he won a Serie A title with us.
But I'm saying like the Baggio we all know is more of a Juve than
Pirlo,
AC Milan. Pirlo, both again.
Both,
but like
Gattuso,
Gattuso,
Inzaghi.
Both Inzaghi started with Juve.
Yeah, but he was better with us.
And then you have Zambrotta. There's You're both fueled with
Yeah.
history of Italians.
I think we're better though. We have the best. Okay,
Up for
I'll
argument.
rephrase it. We got a lot of the country's best players in Italy.
That's fair.
We have the best Italian players that ever played for Milan. You got the best Dutch players that ever played for Milan. I'm not gonna say Brazil because R9 played at Inter, but we did get Ronaldinho, and we technically do got R9 as well, and Kaká.
Yeah, but Kaká, yes. R9, I don't.
And Cafu. Okay, no. Yeah. So overall, we have Brazil. All right. I'm trying to think.
Let's not forget that Cafu is a Roma guy first. And
just like how Pep played for Roma, so that's where he's going next.
No. Cafu identifies as a Romanista, not as a player.
But no, honestly, though, it's been a turning point for Milan, and
no, it's huge. It's such a huge, significant victory.
Yeah.
And shout out to, first of all, Emerson Royale he was the reason why they gave up the goal to DiMarco. But in the second half, he was good.
Yeah.
He was very good in that second half.
Look, he's going to make mistakes defensively, but he's also an offensive weapon, and like Abraham, he also he plays passionately.
Yeah. Oh, we also David Beckham, best English player. I'm not saying the best English player ever. I'm saying the best English player in Serie A.
Not many.
What was I gonna say?
Not many.
No. I lost my train of thought.
Shout out Gabia. I was surprised.
Switzerland, Ibrahimovic. Sorry, I'm done.
Sweden?
I'm done.
Sweden.
Sweden.
Cut that out. Cut that out.
I apologize. My bad. I misspoke.
But honestly,
Sweden.
I'm surprised Gabia started over Pavlovic because I feel like Pavlovic.
What a ballsy move. Gabia has, ever since he came back from Villarreal, he has been phenomenal.
Yes.
He had some fantastic tackles in that game.
Yeah.
Right. There was a little 1-2 going on with Çalhanoğlu. I think Marcus Thuram as well, and like he was like reading the play. He turns around, makes a tackle inside the box. Beautiful, crisp tackle. Like he and then obviously the header to win the game. That was such a significant victory. Like I can't even put it into words. And now, honestly, like it's because that was the monkey on their back. Beating Inter, right? Because they hadn't done it in so long.
Yeah, we beat them in a couple of years,
since we won the Scudetto. Now I think that confidence that we've gotten off of winning that game will propel us to. Obviously, it's a long season. You don't know what can happen, but to be even more legitimate to win the Scudetto and maybe Champions League.
After that 3-1 against Liverpool. But
you see, now they played us
to play some more games.
But they also played us when we weren't the team that we're at now.
Yeah, we'll see.
That was 4 games ago. One game makes a difference. Huge victory, and then we just beat Lecce 3-0.
Yeah.
So listen, I think this is a very, very, very good sign for the team. And I think our next Champions League game is this Tuesday against Bayer Leverkusen. I think that's also a huge test.
Yeah.
And if you beat Bayer, now we're talking.
You're riding high.
Now we're like, listen, they're very capable of beating Bayer, like extremely.
Fofana's...
What is it? Hold on, Paul. What are you over there? What are you rolling your eyes into the sky?
It's a possibility.
No, I just think
it'll happen, but it's a possibility.
No, Paul, you're cool, but Barry was just like,
I was thinking
you was doubting it.
I'm definitely doubting it. Like I don't think it's like the most likely outcome of that game, but it could definitely happen. Like the way Leverkusen's been playing, and like even their first Champions League game, they played fantastic.
Yeah. But you see how we play now.
Saw you play against Liverpool in the Champions League, and that was terrible.
That's one game. Oh my god! And we should have. If we knew how to defend a set piece, we would have won the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, not very good at that.
No, but also Virgil van Dijk and Konate are not on every team. So that's also a plus. Also, one more thing I want to say is I think I really, you mentioned Tabby Abraham, but I think also Alvaro Morata, like those were the kinds of strikers that we needed on the team right now.
Hmm.
First of all, I love that we did play two strikers against Inter. I
Yeah,
love that.
it was like a 4-2-4.
But yeah, exactly. And I think it was very good to have those two guys because obviously, I love Ali Giroud. He helped us win a Scudetto and make it to the semifinals of the Champions League. But these guys are way better with the ball at their feet.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah,
can
yeah.
do more in terms of link up play,
Tight
building
space.
up, counter attacking, being good in tight spaces, and that's exactly what they needed because it takes pressure off Rafa Leao. Um, and guys like Christian Pulisic, like I feel like right now the team, because of not because of, but with the help of those two strikers, it
Yeah.
alleviates a lot of the pressure off of the wings, off of the midfield. Loftus Cheek doesn't feel like he has to be someone that he's not. So I
Yeah.
think it's a very, very those signings were huge for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, because before with Drew, he wasn't going to create anything for himself
No, he's a
at all.
target man, and he's
That's
also
yeah.
not that defensive
So
pressure either.
it's
And when
also
you don't
because he's
have a
only a one
creative
man.
guy in the
Yeah,
middle, and you're just relying on Leao. Like, listen, I
Yeah,
like Pulisic, but Pulisic, like, he's more of a goal scorer than
yeah,
than a
as
playmaker.
we've
You know
seen,
what I mean?
for the last couple of weeks,
yeah.
he's just been scoring.
Yeah.
So
But
Uh,
also, like, shout out Fonseca. I feel like he was getting ripped apart, which
and
some merit
rightfully
to it.
so.
Yeah, and he's absolutely stuck to it. And there was reports also on I think the Friday. I don't know if it was prior or after that week at the training stadium. He set up a whole barbecue for the team. So like you can see they're all gelling now. You know what I mean? The culture's there, everything's there. They're all starting. And they're right. There was reports.
mhm.
Remember when he benched Theo and Leao? Which I mean, look, good for him too. He's six for like you all need to buy in. And
Yeah.
now my only be careful of. I think management needs to stay silent. No more talking. Right? I'm completely against the whole quotes from Ibra saying, "Oh, what's your position? I'm the boss. They're the this." And dude, the team is playing with passion, and the team is the ones on the field. I think the management has to play a very delicate game right now, and I think silence is probably it would be their
That's
benefit in this scenario because the team on the
um
ground level, the team's invested. Upper management, I mean, we saw what happened with Roma as well.
yeah. Well, speaking of Roma, I do want to get to Roma, and I don't have too much more time,
Yeah,
but
Mhm.
we'll do Roma quick, and then we can do Champions League
yeah,
quick.
yeah,
Roma, Daniele De Rossi gets fired, and I saw a quote from Tutti saying that
Yeah, week before
he
uh,
he kind of expected this to happen because Roma just looks for the easy
for a
out.
scapegoat.
yep.
Yeah, they look for
It
a
was a
scapegoat
scapegoat.
and
That's
the
all there
easiest
was
one
to
to
it.
have.
And
And he
it's
called that
ridiculous.
the week before. He said that was when we played Empoli, or was it Empoli? No, who did we play? We played it was Genoa when
Yeah,
we right before we
tied.
tied Genoa 1-1. He said it was it 2 days before or whatever. He said that is going to be used like a scapegoat when everything goes wrong. They're going to leave him because you can't blame the team because they spent all this money they spent
Yep.
all these new guys, but they bought the four of the guys that we signed were on the last. So already there, you're starting off the season with a disadvantage because they got to learn your system and then they got to get fit. They weren't training with the team; they were training alone, and game shape is shape. So like he wasn't given the right amount of time to succeed. And then there's all the everything that happened behind the scenes with him and our, which was the real reason why he got sacked was and you talk shit to the CEO and someone
And did the
at
CEO
us
not step down like a
Yep.
couple of
stepped
days
down two
later?
days later
And that
because of
shows was a poor decision.
yeah for sure, but it was because of all the fans
Yeah.
in uproar because there are two kids, there are two sons in Rome. It's Tati and there's Derasi, and those are the two guys that the fans will never come
Go
to
against.
like yeah you could do anything, those are the two guys
Yeah.
you cannot touch.
But it's not like he
And
did
like
anything either.
exactly, it's not like It's not like, okay, we didn't win a game to start the year, but we weren't losing. Just kept drawing. So there was positives and there was negatives in what was happening. You expect the coach to figure that out throughout a season. Like, you give him a little bit of time to figure it out. And it's just like, if you wanted to fire De Rossi, there's a proper way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do it that way. They didn't even put out like a press release or like thanking him for his time here.
Dude,
And like for someone of that the day before there was the rumor of the owners being like, no, we sack him. And then the next morning at 6:00 in the morning, he was sacked. And there was no like, they waited 2 weeks to release the press release about him being sacked. It was last week they released it. Like, there's a little bit of a disconnect between you guys and the fans right now.
Yeah.
The fans were boycotting the games for the last 2 weeks. Well, at least the first game, they showed up after halftime as protest, which is why the CEO stepped down, because the fans weren't going to come. At least all the ultras were not going to show up to this game because they were just so pissed off of the way you treated someone that big of a legend. Like, imagine like doing that to someone else, like another team. Like, imagine doing that to like Maldini if you're coaching and like just random.
They did.
I mean,
They did, and he wasn't even coaching.
Now, that
I literally woke up on Monday morning and I seen Maldini sacked. That was one of the most depressing,
frustrating. Yeah,
there's a bunch of CEOs and business people that
think they know shit.
Analytics,
they don't know
and
shit.
They negotiate. They need analytics and numbers. And there's intangibles in sports that are probably sometimes fucking more important than the actual stats, right?
And like the report coming in from the Roma team was none of the players wanted this to happen. They all came into training that morning and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Especially the specific ones were Pellegrini and Mancini, who are captains.
Yeah.
Went into the office and were like, "No, you can't. Like, you can't do this."
Yeah.
Like, we all play like. De Rossi is the type of person, like, they all play for him because of the aura he has, especially in Rome, and then the type of person he is, the type of character he is, where it's very like hard. He's a very hard coach because he's very demanding.
Yeah.
So it's like, why, like, we all want to play for him. We're not losing. What the fuck is happening?
That's the thing. Regardless
that was, like, the biggest
of that aura, there wasn't even like the game quality. Yes, they had a rough start to the season. It's been 4 games, but other than that, no stat-wise, you know what I mean? No stats, no anything demanded for that either.
We drew Juve the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 90 minutes I can't get back in my life, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, that was horrible.
But I'm saying, like, everyone's talking about
anyways, dude, you wasn't even paying attention. Get out of here. Two questions before we go to Champions League. One, do you think that De Rossi will come back now that the CEO has stepped down at some point?
No.
And two, do you think? Yeah, it's okay. Two, do you think it would be beneficial for the team if Totti played like a Maldini, Ibrahimovic role for the club?
So,
because I feel like start before you go. I feel like that's Italian teams like not need to do it, but like it's crucial because they don't have millions and millions of dollars to throw at people, and a lot of it is legacy and heritage. Right? Maldini was so crucial in keeping a guy like Theo and a guy like Rafael, and you don't see it. Yes, you kind of see it in the English teams, but not as much. Because there's so many other, they don't need to do that to get players to come, right? Whereas the Italian teams, they kind of do need to do that because it's that's just how things are. They're not the league that they once were. So how do you feel about those two things?
So, for the first part, I don't see him, at least not in like the near future. They did one thing right by signing a good coach as the interim coach.
Yeah.
Like,
very good coach.
He coached Torino last year, and they were one of the best defenses. And the way they played was like very attractive. It's very high pressure, very aggressive, and very well defensively. So it's like with the team like Torino last year and not conceding a lot of goals. Imagine what he could do with a team who has a bigger budget and who signed a lot of players, who signed a lot of defenders. We signed Hermoso and Helmos on the. Like, we have good defenders on the team, so it's like we'll see what that leads up to. And he's a very good coach. So he has the rest of this year, I think, contract, and then like an option for next year. But like if everything goes well and the way he started, the team looks very organized right now and looks like a higher quality, even though Bilbao tied it late yesterday in the 86th minute. But like they looked good, so it's like the only problem with like Peras is he's gonna have to coach again before he comes back, and I do see him like eventually coming back as a coach, maybe in 5-6 years or whatever. But I just don't know where he could coach is the thing, because he needs like people to like be behind him and back him, and like that's what everyone thought Roma was going to be for him, because it
I
is.
think he should wait for that job to open up again.
But you'd also
But
don't want to
I want
not
him
coach.
to gain experience.
Yeah.
Exactly. I want him to develop his skills more. Like he's very new into the game of coaching. He coached Spal for what was it, 6 months, and then he was the assistant national team coaching Roma. Like there wasn't a lot of experience.
Well, I don't think he necessarily needs to be a head coach. I think he can be an assistant and still like, you know, if he,
sure.
I don't know, go join De Zerbi as an assistant in Marseille or something. Like it doesn't
Something
necessarily
like
have to. Yeah.
For sure, but like at least gain some experience, and that actually would benefit him because like he would try to get a coach with a similar style and kind of take things kind of like Arteta did with Pep, being his assistant, taking some of the things he did, and then
or Zidane did with Ancelotti.
Exactly, like you bring things in that you learn because that's the style of stuff like that was what we need, and especially for him to develop, because I think he could be a very
interesting.
And the second part about Tati, it's tough, especially the guy so vocal like him. He talks about a lot how Roma has not reached out to him, and he's not going to reach out to them. The relationship is a little bit fractured, definitely a little bit, and like he's not had it ever since he left. And because after he retired, he was working for Roma for the first year or two. I can't remember what it was. Kind of.
And they went to Champions League semifinal.
In like a director type role, like and then they got into a bigger scrap, and then.
Because even look at Inter. Inter has a guy like Javier Zanetti who's always there for everything, and Materazzi's always there. You know, like they have guys that are always there.
And imagine someone who is Roma, there's no one else you could think of besides Tati as Roma. So it's like, imagine him not being there as often as he used to. Like he doesn't come to games. You don't see him in the stands. Even before De Rossi was coaching, De Rossi was in the stands than he was. So it's like the relationship there isn't where I like to see him back in one of those roles where you can influence guys to show up. Absolutely. Someone's going to have to bend the knee on the management side of Roma, because I feel like they don't want to cave into him, trying to allow him back to give him that kind of like satisfactory of like, oh, we need you again type thing, which they did for 25 years. And like, it's just tough. And like, the relationship's not there. You fire his best friend off like the weirdest situation possible. And like him and De Rossi talk about like they are close. Like it wasn't just because they were teammates for 15 years. They are very close. They are very close friends. They're both born in that city. Like they're not only that they are Roma players, but they're Roman. So it's like it's the ownership and everything together that kind of breaks it apart. But obviously, one day you would love to see him back in some sort of that type of role and see him at games, because that's where he deserves to be. That's where he should be. He should be in Rome.
I don't think that happens until that whole brass or management is shaken up. But I also find that role of I don't know what
the director, the Zlatan role type thing.
Yeah, that's also a very fragile role for these kind of guys, because I understand the importance of having your legends there and stuff, but some of them are also not cut out for I guess management or of that right?
But they're not like they don't like.
I'm not saying
it's more like an ambassador. It's more like an ambassador.
Yes, exactly. That is perfectly fine. I think the issue. I'm not saying you'll have this issue with Totti or whatever, but the issue is it's an ambassador role where you also don't have much to do. Like you have some leeway, you're kind of the face of things, right? And you might not be
I'll be back. Continue talking.
Yeah, you might not be great in management. So, but the issue is if you start trying to dabble in that, that what can cause issues. You have like the Maldinis and stuff that, dude, they were an amazing player and they're an amazing executive, right?
But I think it's a little bit because of the personality of the players. Zlatan is a very me person, where he's always been like the or like the not the cockiness. Like that's
Yeah, and
always
that's
been his
fine when you're a
thing.
player. That doesn't translate to an executive role.
No, it
An
doesn't.
executive role,
It's not about
it's
you.
not about you.
the
It's
team.
about the club now. It's no longer about you. If you want to be an ambassador, sure, but even in that role, there are certain things. If you want to think it, by all means, it's your opinion. You can think whatever the fuck you want to think. There's just certain things you don't say to the public as an ambassador role, right? So these people with the very passionate, which is a good quality and good trait to have, sometimes doesn't translate in that role because now it's club first, and there's just certain PR things you just don't say in a certain sense, right?
But you see, like I know the quote you're referring to with Zlatan, but it's like, how would he like? I don't think it's a problem because he like it's very difficult to insert a me type of personality when you're just trying to like when you're just like giving advice or like trying to like
Yeah.
convince players why they should stay. Like, what are you gonna like? What is he gonna say? Like
No,
he
for
can probably
sure.
relate his experiences and be
Yeah.
like, listen, like I've won a Scudetto here. Like the people will adore you, they'll cherish you, blah blah. Like, and I wasn't here for the Champions League stuff, but I know that when people have won Champions Leagues here, they get admired. Look at a Kaká, like he was there
Yeah.
at the Inter game. They're like fucking. They love Kaká. I'm sorry, in the Liverpool game, I should say.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Everyone's adoring him. So like, I don't think that's. I think I would rather have Maldini there because he's Maldini.
Maldini's an exception. He was an amazing player,
And
and he's a legend of it, and he's just a fantastic executive in general.
But he's also like a calming presence. Like
Yes.
there's always very.
Don't talk. I don't want to talk about
But
it.
that's
I
what
don't
I'm
want to talk
saying.
about it.
Look,
It's
I'm
driving me
not
nuts.
saying he's doing a horrible job, this and that. But I'm saying in a role of executive and stuff, sometimes passion needs to be properly
Subdued.
placed.
Yeah. Champions League. Let's do this quick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What time is it? Let's see.
35.
35.
Let's do this quick.
You want me to just list
So
off the
let's
games,
just-
or
Maybe let's do more so favorites and dark horses.
okay?
Obviously Bayern looked phenomenal. Vincent Kompany, a lot of questions about him being hired
Yeah,
for the
he's
role.
been doing amazing.
He's been doing a job. Olise has been flipping fantastic.
Olise.
Olise has been fantastic.
Yeah, great signing.
Killer.
Obviously Harry Kane's being Jamal Musiala. This team is clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
So they're definitely. I mean, Bayern's always a favorite to win Champions League.
But I
Like,
think they took that step up again, wherever
yeah.
from wherever how high they already were. But
It just feels like they finally have like stability.
yeah,
Right? Ever since Nagelsmann left, like which he should never have left, but ever since not Nagelsmann left, like it's been like like as soon as Tuchel came in and they started to not produce results, like there was questions and just like this kind of like tense pressure surrounding the team, and it's like, okay, we finally got a guy that like we feel is him. He's gonna be our dude, and for him to produce like this early on, kind of to me already gets rid of the questions people may have had. Because if you come in like a Fonseca and you're struggling, and people are having question marks, it's a problem.
Especially with the talent on that roster.
Exactly.
If you struggle with that type of talent, when you have
a problem.
striker who's in form, top 2 strikers in the world, you have Musiala, who's one of the young best players in the world. You signed a Mike Olise who's
another young
fantastic.
Yeah.
Who looked fantastic last year in the Prem and moves here for a big money move. Like there's all these pieces you have, and if you struggle from the get go, you're gonna already get that talk in your ear, and then
exactly.
it's good for them. They scored 20 goals in 3 games or whatever.
They set the record for the most goals in the Champions League game with 9, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But that's also what they needed. With all this instability, they needed that like player coach. Like you see him in the training, dude. The guy's playing defense with them. He's tackling them. Like, you know what I mean? they needed that to kind of like refresh them. It's also a very different team in the sense of like it's no like you're right. Your Muller's still there, but he's like that lesser. Like all these key players are no longer the key players anymore. They're more of that.
The only guy from like kind of like the old era that's still like very extremely like very very good is Kimmich.
Yeah.
Like Goretzka's obviously taking a step back.
Him and Neuer, like.
Yeah, of course, of course, Neuer as well.
Yeah.
But Kimmich and Neuer has been there like forever. But Neuer and Kimmich are like the two guys that are from like the previous Bayern era that are still like some of the best players on the team. So like
for sure
to have those two guys and then have a Vincent Company who has that presence about him, and then have all these young guys together. And Musiala has been there for quite some time too, but he hasn't won to the degree of the other guys. So the Kimmich and the Neuers of the world have more respect on that team. And Thomas Müller, of course, is also still there. Mm-hmm. But like I just think it's fantastic. They're obviously a threat. Real Madrid.
Raise Real Madrid.
They're Real Madrid. I just
started a little slow.
And that's normal, but it's like it's just like I don't know. I just find it, and once again, it's a credit to the culture and the team first mentality, because Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Rodrigo are guys that they're playing every minute of every game anywhere else in the world, almost anywhere else in the world.
Probably in the world.
And there's gonna be times where they're not. It's gonna be Vinny and Mbappe, and it's gonna be Valverde, Jude Bellingham, maybe Luka Modric. Like Tchouaméni and Camavinga and Modric are kind of the three guys that are always rotating. Like Valverde and Bellingham are the only guys that are starting week in and week out. But it's like credit to the foundation that they have. And it's always team first, because that's a lot of star power. And to have that type of stability in guys in Camavinga and Tchouaméni not being like, and Rodrigo as well, not being like, man, this is some bullshit, I'm leaving.
And especially the way Rodrigo has been playing to start off the year, because he's probably been the most consistent guy on that offense.
Yeah. And
especially not just with Madrid, but with him playing for Brazil, he's just been consistent for every team. For every team he's playing for. For him, it's like, why am I not being talked about more than these other two stars? So it is credit to the culture where you don't like. He's not upset. Like none of these guys are talking like shit, saying why am I getting more minutes compared to everyone else?
Yeah. But, so I think it's. Sorry, go Paul.
No, I do think though there's still some things that need to click.
Question marks. Of course.
Question marks. Some things to click. Kind of like we talked about that whole left side issue.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Real Madrid.
Yeah,
it's Real Madrid.
I think the left side really is just like, it's just in terms of adapting, you know what I mean? And I think what will help them the most, and this goes for like almost anything in life, but being decisive. Like they need to be decisive, and like especially Mbappe, because like, Mbappe is better as a striker than Vinny would be as a striker.
Yeah.
And I don't like. I also don't know if I love a 4-4-2 for them, because it's like I don't know. I just find Vinny and Mbappe like being in that position is just weird. But it could work. It could work. I'm not saying it's impossible, but like Mbappe.
What if you did like a 4-2-4, kind of like what Milan did, but that you have the one key striker and Mbappe more drifts to the left. Anyway,
but then who would be the other striker?
The issue is 4-2-4. You know how many fucking fantastic midfielders they have. You're going to play two.
Exactly.
That's
they got to figure something out.
Yeah,
but
for
now
me it's just like
Mbappe is even hurt now too, no? So like they're gonna have to wait for this to try to.
Yeah.
To try, yeah. But I mean, they'll still be fine. But
yeah, no, they'll be fine. It's just like trying to get that cohesiveness with Mbappe now has to wait again because he's out for 2 or 3 weeks.
I just think Mbappe needs to be. I think out of everyone, Mbappe's and correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously, if anyone else out there wants to voice their opinion on they think, but I feel like Mbappe is gonna have to be the one that changes his game in and game out the most.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because some days you're gonna have to be like he'll never just be a target man, but like you more so like have to just let Rodrigo and Vinny create for you, and benefit off of that. Like a Ronaldo, when Ronaldo went to Real Madrid, he wasn't doing what he was asked to do in Manchester United, and that's fine. He still excelled and he adapted his game to the players around him. I think Mbappe is gonna have to do that and know that there's times where you're gonna have to be Mbappe from PSG, but there's times where you're gonna have to become a new Mbappe, and an Mbappe that doesn't need to like dribble past 10 people to score a goal and be on the highlight reels. And also, for the love of God, work on your free kicks. This is driving me fucking insane. Like, the two best strikers in the world, sorry, okay, if we're really keeping it a buck, the best attackers in the world cannot kick free kicks for shit.
No.
Haaland is definitely not doing no free kicks. Mbappe is not doing no free kicks. Salah doesn't really do free kicks because that's all Trent. He's done it before, but like Trent is the guy.
It's not his thing.
Yeah. Vinny Jr. don't do free kicks. No. Rodrigo, Leao, like these back in the day, your attackers were doing free kicks. Okay, and with some exceptions, of course. I don't like free kicks from a forward position is like a lost art. I don't know what the fuck happened, but it's kind of crazy in my opinion.
I mean, in like the early 2000s was a big midfielder free kick central. Like you had Juninho, you had Pirlo, you had Beckham, you had
Lampard, Gerrard.
Yeah, but those are guys from the 90s as well, right? Like those guys
early 90s.
And we all know Lampard's basically a cam. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's very much what he was like. But like, Ronaldinho was banging down free kicks. Obviously, Roberto Carlos, if we're going to other positions that do that shit as well. I believe Del Piero also took free kicks. Totti took free kicks. So anyways, all that to say is like I feel like it's a lost art. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But on your thing for Mbappe, I think he just needs to simplify his game. Mm-hmm. Like you said, he doesn't need to do all that. He has the pace. Just be that striker who runs behind the line.
Get behind the defense.
Beat them. You could probably beat every defender there's out there with simply your pace.
Yeah.
I understand.
Except for Matteo Gabbia.
I understand. Okay. I understand. Like he wants to be more involved in this and that, but if that's not what is needed of you, you'll probably be more effective and do less. And yes, it might be annoying, and I guess I'll use the example of Haaland where the man just stands around for sometimes 40, 50 minutes of the game, but then we'll put in 3. As a player, it's frustrating because you feel like you're not involved, and you're only asked to do in very different spurts. So when you don't deliver, it's frustrating. But at the same time, doing more isn't always going to be beneficial for the team.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
But we can end the episode here.
Yeah.
And then we can just go even more hardcore when we have more time and shit next time.
Yeah, for sure.
We should get together and do a pod in person eventually. That'd be lit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we'll try. My work schedule is a little bit like more calm the next couple of weeks, so it should be a little bit better. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 18 of Unmatched. Listen, we try to bring you guys an episode every week, but life happens. It is what it is. But we'll be back. Hopefully next week we'll have an episode for you. Like, comment, subscribe, talkish if you want to. Agree with us, disagree with us. And I think that's it. I'll see y'all later. Deuces.